Here on TV3, it's time for the Health Club, and this morning we're discussing bipolar disorder. Now, it's also known as manic depressive illness, which is a serious medical illness that causes shifts in mood, or people call them mood swings. Although bipolar disorder is common with both men and women, research indicates that approximately 3 times as many men and women experience it. Let's take a quick look at this video.
For the layperson, our colleagues and family members with weird mood swings are usually seen to be said to be suffering from bipolar. But which conditions or behavior classify one as such? Is it the usually affable and humorous people who periodically get angry for long, or those who constantly get angry for no reason? Bipolar disorder is a mental illness marked by extreme mood swings from highs to lows and vice versa. Each of these extreme episodes can last hours, days, weeks, or months. The mood swings may even become mixed, so you might feel elated and depressed at the same time. As hard as it may be to diagnose bipolar, there are warning signs you can look out for. Feeling overly happy, high or elated for long stretch of time. Feeling easily agitated, as some describe it as feeling jumpy or twitchy. Do you sometimes talk so and super fast, often accompanied by racing thoughts? Extreme restlessness or impulsivity? Impaired judgment? Unrealistic overconfidence in your abilities or powers, or engaging in risky behavior such as having impulsive sex, gambling with life savings, or going on big spending spree? Watch out for these attitudes and report to a medical doctor.
All right, with me in the studio this morning, I have Dr. Bright Reduce. He is from Max International. He'll be educating us more about bipolar disorder. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning.
How's everything?
Good, you?
Good. Okay, we were given the medical definition of what bipolar is. Could you give us a layman's, definition of what bipolar disorder is?
Well, so basically, it's a mood disorder.
Okay.
Where they have periods of excitement and then high levels of energy, overactivity, then it alternates with periods of depression. So they are sad, they feel low, hopeless and helpless. Sometimes they feel so bad they want to commit suicide.
Now, when you say, one instance they're excited, the next minute they're moody, are we talking literally within the space of seconds that somebody's mood can switch from one to the other?
No, we're talking about days to weeks. So they could be manic, excited for maybe a few days, and then they switch to depressive mode.
Right. Okay. What are the main causes of bipolar disorder?
The exact cause, we're not yet sure.
Okay.
But we know there's a genetic component, there's an environmental component, and you have the psychological component.
Okay.
So the genetic is been shown to run through families. When there's a first degree relative, that's your sister, brother, has got a bipolar disorder, you are 7 times more likely to get bipolar disorder. Okay. Also, when a parent has the bipolar disorder, it's been shown that there's a 50% chance that the children will have a major psychiatric disorder.
Okay. All right. And
then
how
for the environmental
stress,
high levels of stress, hormonal fluctuations, stress when you're jobless or your job is such that you alternate between very crazy periods and then periods of inactivity. Okay. Some people have got jobs where maybe at the end of the month it gets so tough and they go on overdrive. Then the beginning of the month they go low. So when these seasonal changes occur, sometimes it triggers them into the bipolar disorder. Okay. So you mentioned that was genetic, that was environmental. Yeah. The last one? And then you have the psychological. It's got to do with the chemicals. The nerves in the brain communicate using chemical signals. Sometimes when there's a problem or any imbalance in the chemical signals, you have bipolar disorder coming in. Okay. But then again, it all occurs on the bedrock of genetics. When you have the genes, also some medications can tip you in. Some type of antihypertensive medications, some antidepressants, and some other medications that we use can all do this. Okay. So it's multifactorial.
All right. Now, a lot of people have compared bipolar disorder to depression, and obviously we've said it is a manic depressive illness. How close is it to just a case of depression?
Well, one might not see, but you get to know when there is the period of excitement.
Right.
Somebody who is depressed might just be low mood,
Constantly.
for a long time. But these people who have bipolar disorder get very excited and later get depressed. For example, there's this story of a woman who is actually a psychiatrist who used to have bipolar disorder, and she could go shopping on ends, go blow her money. She gets excited and she does all those things, and then after that, depression sets in. Then it dawns on her what she's done. Then she becomes very depressed. So you get these things alternating.
Okay.
As compared to somebody who's just depressed and is just low, withdrawn
all the time.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you go about diagnosis?
Well, it's not too easy to diagnose the bipolar disorder, but basically you have to take a history and an examine. You have the mental status exams. You also have some other criteria that is used. But the key point we look out for is people have got a history of being excited. They run about, they have energy, they are fleet of ideas, they want to start things, and then they go into depression, where they feel so miserable and hopeless and helpless. Sometimes they want to commit suicide, attempt committing suicide. So when a psychiatrist examines, take the history, do a mental status exams, and then you can talk to the client, and then you can pick it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it common in Ghana?
1 out of every 100 people you meet is said to have bipolar disorder.
1 out of every 100?
Yeah, in Ghana.
That's a large number.
That's really common, yeah.
Yes, that's... so basically, there could be people walking around that haven't been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Yeah,
also over here, there's a huge problem with handling these mood and psychiatric disorders because of our high levels of superstition. So
right, the culture.
When it happens, someone might think that, as they say, somebody's doing them. So it may actually be higher. Maybe it's not reported, but we're not too sure. So far from the data we have is 1 out of every 100.
Okay. Treatment. How do we deal with people who have bipolar disorder?
It involves so many things. There's psychotherapy where a lot of talking, counseling, support, family groups coming together, and then the stressful things that trigger the disorder or cause the swings or have to be dealt with. Maybe the person is jobless, has a very stressful job, there's a loss of a spouse they are dealing with, those things. Sometimes alcohol abuse, drug abuse, all these things are in. They have to do with these issues. And then we have the pharmaco, we use medications.
Okay.
Antidepressants, sometimes antipsychotics are all used together, several other therapies, but basically the support has to be there, education has to be there. And they may have to have close friends with them all the time. It's a bit dangerous when they go into the depression because there's this story where a woman felt so hopeless and helpless. They see the world to be a very painful place to be, and they think it's better if they leave.
Right.
But they consider their loved ones too. So this woman wanted to commit suicide, but thought that her children would be miserable if she goes. So she wanted to kill the children first.
Oh, wow.
And kill themselves. So there's always a homicide and a suicide.
Okay.
And that can be quite dangerous.
Yeah, very.
Yeah. So there's a lot of support and close, family, friends. Yeah. Then the medications too come in.
Okay. Doc, I want you to give some advice to the general public now, because it would be very easy. It is very easy for us to turn around and say, you are a crazy person. You belong in a mental home. But seriously, bipolar disorder is a very serious manic depressive illness. So what would you say to people who are very quick to self-diagnose or even point the finger and say people have a mental illness? Well,
the quotient curve, there's a huge number in the middle and the other extremes. So you never know. Maybe everybody's crazy, in quotes, but then we have the extremes. But over here, there's a huge problem in dealing with mental disorders because of our superstition, wish comes and all these things. So the advice is that people should really, use the scientific approach in dealing with these situations. That when there's a change in personality, somebody seems to be going off. Sometimes you don't realize these things until it's full-blown psychosis. Right. When they strip in the streets, we need to, be more concerned and quickly seek medical help before it goes, because this disorder can really, really, really create a lot of harm. It can tip people, can let them lose their jobs, let them go into substance abuse, and become a huge burden for the society. Okay. So when people pick up these things, personality changes, they should
All right. Well, final question, Doc. I mean, I've been asked to ask you this one. There are people who are naturally very bubbly, very hyperactive, who are very outgoing on a day-to-day basis. If they have an off day, and they descend, to the other side and become, somewhat moody for that day, is that necessarily bipolar disorder?
Well, sometimes you don't get to see the other side. Maybe the colleague is at work. Anytime they come to work, they're so excited and hyper, but at home, they go into the depression over there. Sometimes you might catch them in a depressive mood. But people who are lively doesn't really mean they have bipolar. Some people are just high all the time.
All right. Okay, so you heard it yourselves right here on NewDay, and the doc has given us some more education on bipolar disorder. I want to thank you so much for coming in this morning, and please be very careful just not to point the finger and tell people that they have a mental disorder without it being diagnosed properly by a professional.